Hi, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Diane Bulon. I'm a policy officer working for the program, and I'm delighted to welcome you to our webinar on sustainability in project activities. So we are thrilled to have participants from all over Europe joining us online. Let us know in the chat where you're from and the project you are in, if any, and wherever you are connecting from, we're happy to have you with us today. Joining me in this session, we have Petra Polashkova, Senior Communication and Evaluation Officer, then Irma Astroskaitideni, Head of Unit and Communication Contact Points, and behind the scene, we have my fellow colleagues from communication. We've had Lisa, Marie, and Julie making sure the webinar is running smoothly. And we also brought together a fantastic group of speakers who will share insights and inspiring examples. Before we begin, just a quick housekeeping note so that we are all on the same page during this webinar. The webinar is being recorded and the replay will be shared on the Interreg Europe website. Feel free to submit any questions using Slido. We will add the link in the chat. We will address the most liked question after each topic. Please include your name along with your question. It's much nicer for us to know who we are addressing. So today's session will go over 4 points, the highlights from the sustainability survey that we launched, how to choose green venues and organizing travels, green catering, and communicating on sustainability. Now let's start with a quick question on Slido. Do you have a sustainability strategy in your institution? So let's give everybody a moment to reply to the question. And for those who just connected, we are happy to have you with us today for this webinar on sustainability in project activities. Let us know in the chat where you're from and the project you are in. Wherever you are connecting from, we are happy to have you with us today. Marie, could you put the Slido link? It is already. Maybe we can repeat it so that people can see it. So to participate, you just grab your phone and shot the QR code that you are seeing now on your screen, or you can use the link shared in the chat. Once you are in, or you see the question that I've just launched, just type your response and hit submit. And I'll give you a moment to reply. As I can see in the chat, we have a lot of people connecting from all over Europe. It's so nice. I'll give you another minute to reply to our question to know if your institution has a sustainability strategy. My bad. The question is not on Slido. It was a poll that was already launched, so don't do anything with Slido for the moment. And maybe we can see the result that we have so far. Okay, so that's good to see that we have 41% that do have a sustainability strategy. We have 43%, so half in the middle of institutions that do not have any sustainability strategy, and we have 16% that don't know, which is totally fine. But it's nice to see that almost half of the institutions that are connecting have a sustainability strategy. The webinar, of course, will inspire you to be more sustainable, and even if it's with small steps. I will now pass the floor to my colleague Petra to present the highlights from the sustainability survey that we launched in May 2025 for our project. So Petra, what can you tell us about the survey and its results?
Well, thanks a lot, Diane. Good morning from my side as well. I can only repeat what Diane already said. I'm so happy to see so many of you from all different corners of Europe interested in sustainability and how to make your project activities more sustainable, learn from others during this webinar. So thanks a lot for joining us. Now, a few words about our survey. If I can have the next slide. So, as you are, majority of you working in our projects, you know that one of the criteria for your projects is sustainability. It's one of the horizontal principles. So this is something that is important for the European Union. It is important for our program, but last year, we had a more focused discussion on sustainability and what we do within the program, what our projects are doing in their activities. We had a discussion at our monitoring committee meeting. What are the different approaches to sustainability? Are our events using the principles or applying the principles of sustainability? And that this internal discussion then turned into an update of our program manual, focusing on you, our projects, giving you some guiding steps and suggestions how your activities, which are mainly meetings and events when you are meeting your project partners, how to make these more sustainable. This program manual update was published in early 2025. And then we asked ourselves, so we proposed these 7 steps to sustainability for our project. Let's ask you how much you've already been doing. And this is what we did in spring 2025. And what were some of the results? I can have the next slide. So we looked at mainly at these areas. As I already said, you are mainly meeting each other, learning from the partners, exchanging your good practices. And those events and meetings can happen online or in person. So this was one of the areas when we were asking in what format you are organizing your meetings and project events. Another question or area of questions was linked to the type of venues. How are you selecting your venues? What are some of the sustainability criteria that you might be trying to apply and use when selecting venues for your project meetings and events? Another area was about traveling. Traveling is a big topic, so what means of transport you use during your project meetings and events? During meetings and events, you are eating, so catering and food is another important part of sustainability. And it's not only during those meetings at your events, but in general in your institutions. And we'll hear one of the good practice or one of the examples from one of our speakers about food and how sustainability principles can be related to food and catering and eating in your partner institutions or at the events. Other two topics, very important ones, were the production of the different material you need for your events, all those agendas, reports, good practice, descriptions. So how you are using and producing them to make them in the most sustainable way. And the last topic was communication. And in this respect, how you communicate actually about the different sustainability activities and sustainability steps that you are taking, whether you are talking about it, whether people participating in these events and meetings know that you are following sustainability principles. If we can have the next slide. We will look at what the results of this survey were. Well, first, 652 of you contributed, which was great. We saw that this is a topic that draws a lot of interest among you, our project partners. And what was even more like nicer for us was that 90% of projects were represented among these answers. So we really heard from almost all of you. 237 projects contributed and told us how they are implementing the sustainability principles in their activities. And what was even better result for us from our point of view was that 87% of all these answers showed that you are already implementing many of these principles that we put in the program manual. So this is really just a guidance, and we see that you take this topic very seriously and you are implementing it. Yet, we thought that it would be still interesting to have a look at some of the good practices and open the discussion with you about the different topics. And for that reason, we are organizing this webinar today. But let's have a look at event formats. We asked you whether you always mostly, sometimes, or never do one or the other thing that is linked to sustainability. And when it comes to event formats, 8% of you said that you always required that your meetings and events are in person. And you see, it was quite a minority. 65% always or most of the time offer an online option for the meetings. You mentioned in your comments that sometimes having an online meeting is not maybe as efficient. On the other hand, it might be a more sustainable way of communicating about things that don't need to happen in person. So you discussed this format in more detail in the comments in the survey, where the result was, yes, we want to meet in person as much as possible because personal contacts with partners is important. But those who cannot come and making results of these meetings more accessible, we offer online options as well. We can go to the next. When it comes to the event venues, again, when you look at the charts, it's the black and dark grays that show the always or most of the time, and you see that majority of you were basically implementing most of these principles linked to venues. But just to highlight three top results. So more than 80% of you use always or most of the time venues that are nicely connected with the transport, with public transport. More than 60% of you are focusing in the venues whether they offer energy efficient technical equipment. And more than half of you are also using the green public procurement rules when looking for venues. If we can have a look at the next one. When looking at traveling to events, again, here maybe sometimes it starts getting a little higher on the chart, but still we saw that more than 3/4 of the projects are providing directions and maps linked to public transport to help people to get to the venues in the most sustainable way. Around 60% are implementing also soft mobility during their project meetings and events, meaning that they support walking, cycling, using other means of transport that are sustainable. And then if there are some study visits or local visits, 35% of you mentioned that you are organizing minibuses again, if necessary, to use public transport and avoid types of transport that are not that sustainable. So that's about traveling. If we can have a look at the next. We do not show the charts here about the catering and the production of the different material because there was very plenty of different criteria that we asked you about, and thank you for filling them in and letting us know. But again, a few highlights about the food. Basically, all of you, around 90%, are always adapting the amount of food to the quantities, to the number of participants. So you are checking how many people come, then you coordinate with the caterers to order only the amount of food that will be necessary for the meeting to avoid waste. Also, large majority of you, almost 80%, avoid single-use tableware. So reusable plates, reusable cutlery is something that is important for you at your events and meetings with partners. And more than 65% also find as very important to include local food or organic food in the menus that you prepare for the project meetings and events. So that's about food. When it comes to production of the different material, we understand that you need some support to pass information, to share reports, share presentations, but majority of you, again, almost all of you, think about producing only the minimum quantity necessary and mainly use the information online. But there was an important comment that even the online saving means energy, that the servers also represent energy. So it showed us again that you have this very broad view of sustainability and think about it. And again, last point about material. Again, large majority, 85% of you always or most of the time think twice before you print any material. Because again, we understand that sometimes a paper support is the way to work. If you work at workshops with your partners and you are mind mapping where you are, what are you going to do, maybe which good practices to select, what are some of the criteria, then some kind of a support, physical support is needed. And we understand when you take part in our events, you see that they're not 100% paperless because sometimes paper or some kind of support is important and functional for passing the knowledge, or passing the messages to the participants. So, but thinking twice about it, considering whether it is important to print one or the other material is something that you are doing. And we are very happy to see that you do. If I can have the next slide. I would say that the main finding of this survey was communication, because this was the weakest area compared to all the others. You do the good things, you do the sustainable things when you are organizing, when you are running your project. You're just not talking about it. And maybe there is part of this webinar is to encourage you and motivate you to talk a little more about all the different sustainability steps that you put in organizing your project events and meetings. Around 45% of you said that you do talk about it in social media. but only 30% of you mention it in your invitations to the different events, meaning that you say that, we selected a green venue, we have sustainable catering using local and organic producers. So trying to respect the sustainability principles in your events. And only around 25% of you ask for suggestions or feedback on the sustainability measures that you put in place in your event evaluations. So certainly a topic that we thought would be worth discussing, and this will be actually the topic we'll discuss at the end of this webinar. If I can have the last slide. So to sum up, these are the three key highlights. We are very happy that there is a very high adoption of the sustainability measures among you. So thank you for that, and please keep on doing it. We are very happy to see that. What needs maybe more of your attention is the communication, which is the weakest link. So don't be afraid to talk about what you do, and we'll discuss in more detail how maybe you can do it. And we also would like to address some of the barriers that some of you mentioned, meaning sometimes sustainability principles, putting them in place are connected with higher costs. Sometimes it's procurement rules that are limiting you. Sometimes if you organize a project meeting or event in some more remote areas, the connectivity might be the barrier. And here I would call on you, don't hesitate to use our chat to share how you maybe overcome some of these barriers and share them with the rest of the participants so that they can learn from you and come away from this webinar with tips how to make their project activities even more sustainable. Thank you. And back to you, Diane.
Thanks, Petra, for presenting the results of the survey. And indeed, if you don't talk about what you are doing in your institution, it doesn't exist for the world. So don't forget to communicate on it. This was really insightful. And now we'll get to Slido. So if you want to ask any question, use the Slido. And as Petra said, do share with us your good practices that you have in your regional level or institutional level in the chat. It's always valuable indeed to learn what projects are doing. So let's see. The first question is from Matilda from Stockholm. The program manual states that we should minimize travel and organize digital meeting and that climate compensation is allowed as a cost. But the program requires physical participation and most our partner fly to these. Can't Intra-Europe demand compensation or incentive for sustainable travel? Well, Matilda, it is a great question. Within Intra-Europe, what you have to remember is that the core of the program is the exchange of experience. And for that, you need to meet each other. So we know that you need to travel. But also when you have, for example, a management meeting, every time you can do it online, it is also relevant so that you are not flying all together just for a management meeting, something that could most of the time be done online. So regarding the demand on compensation and incentive for sustainable travel, we don't have that for the moment. And we'll see maybe in the next programming period, we will have compensation or incentive. This is something that we for sure are taking into consideration.
And if I can maybe, Diane, have a small comment on this. If you compare the number of events that we did in physical format just a few years ago, it would have been much higher. Now we try to organize the physical events really just the bare minimum so that we see you, so that we see the lead partner, we see maximum usually one other partner to train and to let you exchange experiences and limit in that way also the traveling. And most of our trainings are done just like today, the webinar, when we try to do it online to also make it more accessible to larger group of you. to give you an opportunity to contribute and ask questions or comments. And thanks a lot for the suggestion.
Now we have different question. Well, that's nice. Well, please, guys, if you can put your name when you post a question, it would be nice so that I know who am I addressing, because for the moment it's just anonymous. Here we have in our company, we calculate the carbon footprint coming from travels to event. We ask that info to each participant and we compensate in planting trees. Well, that's a nice initiative. So here we go. For example, you have a new example. Then sometimes reusable cutlery is more expensive, and I find it difficult to convince my organization to go for it, even if they know as individual person that is important. Well, we'll see later on about green catering, and you will see also what we can do for this. But I believe that you first have to speak to your organization as a human being to another human being, talking about what is better for the environment. And if it's more expensive, what is the cost really? Because is it the cost for the nature, for the environment, or is it more the cost for your organization? So we really need to take that into consideration. But I believe if you explain all the benefits for your organization and that you are communicating on it, which is super important, there is an added value. Just to be following the time schedule, I will talk about eco-friendly venues and traveling. And for this, I would like to introduce you to Mia Maris Prax from the Tartu County Tourism Foundation from Estonia. That is a partner in the second call project tourism for SDG. So hi, Maya. Tell us what is your organization. Hi.
Hello.
Tell us what is your organization already doing in terms of green venues and organizing travels?
Yes, I will. And as a first thing, I'd like to thank you for inviting me. And as I see, we have a lot of participants, so I'm super happy all around the Europe. So I can start with my presentation, right, Diane?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So hello, I'm Mia Maris. My job title is Sustainable Tourism Coordinator. So pretty much all that we've been talking about, this is like my main thing that I do from day to day. I know it's quite a big privilege that in our organization we have this kind of like job title, because I know in many organization sustainable things, they're like next to other things you need to do. So in my organization I can put like full focus on that. But today I'll be talking about one really good practice that we have in Tartu, and it's a Tartu Sustainable Event Guideline, which is one rule book for organizers. So we can put the next slide and then I'll tell you what it is and how we use it. So in Tartu, we rely on one shared tool when we are organizing our events. So any kind of events like concerts, I don't know, museum guided tours, anything. But we also use this guidebook, of course, for our project events. So what matters is that it's not just like vague principles, I don't know, like try to be more sustainable. It really combines minimum requirements with practical recommendations and checklists. So organizers can make decisions really quickly and consistently. So, but I know the guidelines are in Estonian, but, in red, I've highlighted just, the main things that you need to know in English. So the guideline covers 7 different areas, from materials and catering to transport and communication, which is really useful also for us in projects, because sustainability isn't only about one moment like catering, it's also about how people arrive, what we order, what we reuse, and how we communicate these expectations. So we can put the next slide. Thank you. And now I'd like to, just highlight for you, because the guideline is pretty long. I think it's like 40 pages, something like this. So I'll highlight just one section of it, which is transport. So I'll talk about green venues and travel, and how to make low carbon the default in the destination, which in our case is the city of Tartu in Estonia. I don't know, did I say it? But I'm from Estonia. But it could also be like a larger destination, I don't know, a county or even a country. So I'll show you one clear example: travel and venue choices. So the guideline that we have makes it concrete with two non-negotiables. So every chapter in the guideline has kind of like two layers. First one is the minimum requirements that you definitely have to fill, and the other one are recommendations, so like an ambition. And I'll just say, although for the project activities already we do have the money coming in from, I don't know, Leader or Interreg or this kind of things, then when there's events organized in the city, then those requirements, those like minimum ones, have to be met in order to get the money from the city. So you see what I mean? Like, you won't get, I don't know, money to throw a concert if you don't meet those minimum requirements. And so, and I really like it, the structure. So it's built around minimum requirements and recommendations, and they are also supported by practical checklists. So I'll show you the checklists later. But for an example, with transport, our minimum baseline is really simple. We always give participants clear alternatives, coming alone by car, and sorry. So for transport, our minimum baseline is really simple. We always give participants clear alternatives to coming alone by car, and we make cycling realistic by ensuring bike locking or creating temporary bike parking. And then we scale this up by using the recommendations. For example, where possible, we prioritize venues that are easy to reach by public transport and bike. And we also add really concrete details like line numbers and stops, and we actively encourage sharing rides. And which is also important is when we have, visitors arriving from across Europe or across world that are not in Estonia, we do need to be honest about the flights, because the guideline explicitly notes that there are no perfect solutions for compensating flight emissions. So the priority is reduction and transparency. And if anything, supporting local nature organizations is presented as an option, not a silver bullet. So in practice, this changes how we plan. We don't start from what venue looks nice. We start from, can people realistically get there without a car? And can they park a bike safely? Or is the bus connection, comfortable and kind of adaptable to everyone? So we can put the next slide. So I know there's a lot going on in this slide, but as I said, there's this guideline that's like, in 7 different areas. And then there's this minimum requirements and recommendations. But then if you've done the minimum requirements, you move on to the checklist, which is, I find, the most useful. So also the checklist is like, checklist for transport, checklist for catering, checklist for materials. And there's also checklists for different, like, I don't know, when we don't even have a checklist for online webinar to make sure that online webinar is sustainable. So yeah, but I just like to state that the checklist is built by stage, so it mirrors how organizers actually work. So it starts with planning, where the checklists is mainly questions, and that's deliberate. At this point, you need a filter, not a long to-do list. So we treat green venue as an access test. Can people really arrive by public transport, on foot, or by bike? And do we have secure bike parking, etc.? So if the venue fails those checklists, we stop there. We don't move on with this venue. And this saves our time and also avoids maybe greenwashing later, because when we have chosen a venue that is not meeting those requirements, but we've already chosen it, like everything is planned, then maybe we feel later the pressure just like make it more green or sustainable than it actually is. Then the checklists moves to preparation, and the format shifts from questions to practical tasks. The things you can see on the slide, the preparation, it's on the left down corner. So this is where we operationalize the plan. We coordinate early with transport partners. You know, in the cities, it's easy. We have the city transport department. So we talk to them, can they add any bus lines, etc. We also add a simple how to arrive box into the invitation and agenda email, and we put in nudges like shared rides with public transport when public transport won't work with everyone. So, and finally, there's also, which is really, really important, and I think gets maybe forgotten a lot, is the during the event stage, which is basically like a quality control, making sure the sustainable option stays the easiest option on the day, with clear responsibilities, signage, and functioning solutions. So it's really easy to say, like, you know, you should do that, you should do this, but to see, is it working on the event day? This is, I think, the thing that shouldn't be forgotten, definitely. And also that I haven't put on the slide, but we do have a, how do you say it? Not like, like a response form, you know, after the event, the department that owns this guide, you know, it wasn't developed. I was in the development process, but it wasn't developed by me. I don't like our department is not responsible for that. So the department that is, it's a cultural department actually. They do need you to send them a feedback form and say, like, we did that, we did this, and so on. And they do a, how do you say it? They do checks from time to time that they do come to your event and see whether you tick boxes with the minimal requirements. And there has been moments where money is taken away from events because they didn't do things that they actually promised. So, and I would like to move on to the next slide. Yeah, so just, you know, really, really shortly, why one shared destination guideline beats each organizer improvising, even if each organizer thinks that sustainability is important, it still creates one common language for venues, caterers, partners, organizers, transport. It also, you know, cuts friction, faster procurement, clearer expectations, fewer surprises. It also enables better follow-up, waste handling and reporting logic. As I said, you know, we can't say in Tartu about an event that it's sustainable if you haven't done, you know, the feedback form correctly and everything is actually correct. You know, you can't say just like, Yeah, our event was sustainable because we didn't use plastic. I mean, of course, and you're not even allowed to use plastic, but like the other things, and it's like so much bigger. So each organizer doesn't have to think, is my event sustainable? They can just, if the checklist is correct, they are sustainable. And also stronger credibility, because we do have standard that Tartu is a green destination. We have a green destination platinum level certificate. So it's super important for us that also our events and also projects are transparent and sustainable in every way. So this is it from my side. I think I do have, one just last slide asking for, is there any questions?
Well, thanks, Mia, for the interesting presentation. For sure, the shared rulebook for organizer in Tartu, mentioning minimum requirements and recommendation so that you have a global and common approach adopted is really, really interesting and useful for us and for the audience, I'm sure. Now, maybe we can see if we have any question in the chat. But before, I would like to ask you a question myself. Since your project started in April 2024, is this good practice already transferred to your project tourism for SDG activities? Is there something that is going or is implemented?
So we would, of course, we're going to have the project meeting in Tartu in March. So then, of course, we're going to use this good practice and probably also going to share it with others. We have shared it with others, in the meetings, but it's not, maybe this event guideline hasn't been, I don't know, developed any further, because right now because it was only developed like 1.5 years ago. So pretty much right now I feel it has reached a plateau. So we need all the event organizers to still like adapt to that and make it into use, and then we can develop it further.
Okay, good. Well, that's nice to see that even though what you have, the rule book is at your local level, you can use it also for projects and to share your good practice,
And it's really, I'd say it's really not the destination based at all. I mean, it's called like Tartus, because it's like developed by us, but it could be used if. This is actually one thing we do want to translate it into English, but we still need to plan that.
Okay. But yeah, that would be really interesting so that you can share it with your consortium and with more people. And as we said, like communication, if you communicate on it, it exists. But then also there is the language barrier here. So it's interesting. Thank you, Mia. I see that we have a question from Elena Papa that is asking, these rules apply as well for events that do not require city funds or for events organized by private actors, for example, forums or concerts?
Private actions as well. Yeah.
Okay.
But maybe I would like to say that this is something that we, they do adapt, they do need to meet those requirements, but with the CD funding needed events, we have like, more control, because we can say that your funding gets cut if you don't meet those requirements. With private owned, it's more difficult. There are some things like not using plastic that is, a requirement for everyone. There's no debate about that. This is like illegal in Estonia, that you use, I don't know, plastic forks and knives in your event. That's illegal. But the other things, arriving by bike or offering more eco products and that kind of things, so these we can't control if they're not funded by the city. But we do have this kind of network in Tartu that's called a sustainable event organizers network, and these people are mostly from private entities. So I hope if they belong to our network, they do find the guidelines useful.
It's super nice to see everything that is implemented in Tartu. Really impressive, Mia. Thank you for this. I'm checking a bit on Slido, but we won't have a lot of time, so we can circle back at the end. So there is with Irmans that's saying, just want to mention an additional benefit of online events that we notice. At our first expert call online, we had a number of experts from outside the partnership, even outside Europe, as for South Africa and Australia. So yeah, for sure, benefiting the online is that you can reach the world. You just need internet connection. But sometimes, like within Dragon Europe, we need to meet each other. That's why the partnership is only in Europe. And the new countries that we have integrated, but for sure, online gives you so much opportunities.
So I do. Oh, okay. We need to move on. I understand. Yeah, there's no time for questions. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you want to add quickly something, Mia?
Yeah. Quickly. Yeah. The first. Does sustainability refer to include also responsibility? Yes, there's also a section about community engagement / responsibility. So yeah, it's there. It's like totally different part. And also the second anonymous question about traveling with train, we do have for the people that work in the city government, or organizations that are under the city government, like me, we do have recommendations to taking train and that kind of stuff. But as you said, then also from Finland, train is rarely an option, but we do try to enforce it. So yeah.
Okay, well, thank you a lot, Mia. Really, really insightful. And we will still go back to the question later on because we need to follow the schedule.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now we will dive into green catering. So for this topic, we have with us Jana Kula from the city of Heinola in Finland. That is a partner of the third coal project Naturfin. And joining also this session is Dario Shunak from the Lombardy region, in Italy, that is a partner in the second coal project GreenGov. So I'm going to start with Jana. And I have a question. What steps has the city of Heinola already taken towards sustainability catering?
Okay. Hello all, and best regards from the city of Heinola in Finland. We are located in the region of Päijät-Häme, and we are quite a small city, and we are still in the start of the project. So I have not planned everything ready. We have not really planned the future bigger meeting. I'm talking here a little bit about the green catering in the project's everyday work, which is also a normal procedure for project staff, as it is also for the ordinary way of doing things for the whole personnel of the city. And starting from the lunch, the city supports by 25% the lunch every day for the staff and also for the project personnel. And we are recommended, or we can have the lunch at the social enterprise diner, and that supports elderly people's living and eating. So in this way, we are not talking about natural sustainability in nature, but also social sustainability at the same time. And we get an additional €2 discount in this place if we have our lunch there. And the food here has a good quality, and it is mainly prepared from domestic ingredients, and it includes various forms of vegetables, so it means fish and potatoes, and so on. And it is very healthy and tasty. And also the drinks, we mainly use water and milk and in Finland as a drink by the meals. But we also have the traditional, in this social enterprise, we have this traditional homemade beer. It is non-alcoholic. It's such a national drink, and it's made of malt, so it's quite healthy, I think. But also here, as the water is very important in Finland and of high quality, I would like to mention it in here. About the tableware, that is reusable, and we use it as a ceramic tableware, and of course knives and forks, they are from steel. And now you can have this next slide. Then about the coffee breaks. Coffee breaks are very, very important here in Finland, and we can have 2 coffee breaks per day. We have it written in the National Working Time Act, so we have a legal right to have these coffee breaks, and they are so important events per day. Maybe also in other countries, but by us it's very important, and they are really social events, and that supports the social cohesion of the staff and well-being also. And it is very important that we have this kind of moments during the day, working day, that makes us feel better, and happy people are happy workers as also. So it is very, very good issue. And of course, during these coffee breaks, people have innovations and discuss also the things about the work. So everybody wins when we have this. And the city offers the coffee for free at the moment, and it is served here at our working place. And I think that is sometimes people bring their own. They have buy this or bake or the bun or cake with their own money, and they bring it to the work, and it is shared with others by the coffee. And I think that when people do these things, it shows that there's a good spirit in the working place, and everyone is happy. So it makes also the working in the office and in the project efficiently. So it's a good sign to have this kind of issues. And also the tableware is sustainable also at these events. And next slide, please. Small project events then. We have smaller and bigger events during this project, which, I forgot to say that I'm working for the NatureFin project that has started in May this year. And City of Heinola is the only Nordic partner in this project. And we are still at the early stage with this project. But if we think of these small events like small meetings, they are organized at the walking distance in the city's own premises, and everything is very close as we are here in a small city. And these places are also reachable by bus or car, and the parking is free all over the city. And we also have in the center of the city some electronic vehicle charging points. So if one uses that kind of vehicles, it's possible to come to the meetings with those. And the catering in these smaller events is ordered from the social enterprise that I mentioned earlier, or some other service providers for supporting the local employment in the city, and also this welfare. And of course, the waste is minimized. So they are the smaller events. And then the larger event. We have, as I guess every Interreg Europe project has, the international project events every 6 months. And we had in June, we were in Hungary, because the Hungary Budapest University of Corvinus University from Budapest is the coordinator of our project. And we were in Hungary in June, and last week we were in Pagaio County in Greece. And next June we will be here in Finland, in the city of Heinola. Here we will have events quite here in the walking distance from the hotels, and or otherwise reachable by the bus or car in 10 or 15 minutes from the hotels. We haven't decided everything yet for this meeting, but basics, however. And the lunch will be following similar sustainability principles as in the city's everyday lunch. And then we will have a special dinner, and we have planned it to have it by the river at the restored old laundry building that is very nice, and then it's transformed into a charming, cozy, unique restaurant. It is very popular, and they have really good food. And we have been discussing with the entrepreneur that we would design it as sustainable as possible, and it will be prepared from high quality ingredients, which they have every time in the first place, and we prepare their then local producers. And here also the drinking water is in a key role, because it comes from the springs in the Salpausselkä ridges area. That is a special formation in the nature, and the groundwater and drinking water come from the groundwater comes from down to earth, and this area, it has been defined and found in the UNESCO study that it is the best drinking water and groundwater in the world, as we have it everywhere else in Finland also. But this area is UNESCO global geopark, so it's a very fine place, and it's protected by many ways. And then we will have study visits during the next summer meeting, and there will be some meetings or some visits into the forest, because forest is very, very important here in Finland and also this region. And we will bring our guests to the forest, and also some other natural sites. And I wish that we could have a snack and some project discussions, evaluations of this meeting in the outdoor places down there in the forest, or down by the river or lake. And we will not leave no waste there, and we have infrastructure for this kind of events in the nature. So that was my last slide. So I hope there's at least something for you to understand and so on. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jana. Well, it's really insightful, and also like that you are showing us how you are going to do one of your interregional learning events and what you are already prepared, because you have to prepare for sustainability as for most of the thing in life. And you have to think in advance. So it's really nice also to share that with our audience, so they can see, because they're mostly from projects from Interreg Europe, to see what you are already implementing, and maybe if they are not implementing one aspect, they might have an inspiration here. So thank you very much, Jana.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to give the floor to Dario. So Dario, could you give us an update on the Lombardy region's current effort in green catering?
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I will show very few slides, but since there's some animation inside them, I would need to ask you once in a while to click to move on. Okay. Hello, everybody. As a partner of the Interreg Europe project called GreenGov, last spring we hosted a consortium meeting in the capital city of our region, in Milan. And at the time, what we asked ourselves was how sustainable our meeting will be. And even more importantly, how can we assess the sustainability of the event in a way that is not too subjective? To do this, we relied on the outcome of a former 2014-2020 Interreg project we had been the lead partner of. The project was CIRCE on circular economy. And one of the deliverables of that project was a guideline for sustainable events that considered several parameters that you see listed in the small box on the left. That list was revised, was simplified. Click, please. And so we came out with just 4 parameters, but as you can see, for example, food stayed the same, it became catering, supply chain and communication stayed the same, whereas all the other remaining parameters were merged into a single location and management choices. These parameters were exploded into a self-assessment checklist. Click, please. That you can see on the right. Well, it's it's very small in this reproduction. I won't go into this in detail. Just consider the 3 columns on the right that represent the self-assessment. A flag on the green column means yes. A flag on the red column means no, and a flag on the yellow column means partly so. But I would just call your attention on the catering part. Click, please. Which includes items such as origin of food, management choices, characteristic of the supplier. Among the origin of foods, of course, we should prefer menus at 0 kilometers with seasonal ingredients, with product certifications, and so on. We should prefer watering in glass jugs instead of plastic bottles. Make the catering accessible also for people with food intolerance or following special diets, vegetarian, vegans, and so on. And adjust the quantities. This has been told already, to the number of confirmed participants to limit food waste, but even more important, to donate the leftovers to charity if possible. Among the management choices, we recommend washable or reusable dishes, and carry out a correct separate waste collection for the non-reusable stuff, and also in this case food surplus to association with the charitable purposes. Also the certification of the supplier in social responsibility management systems could be appreciated. And that's what in the next slide we summarize what we actually did during the consortium meeting, which was held in Milan last May. Click, please. We had some good control item results on both the catering and on the event production, that means communication. In particular, we selected a supplier for the catering from the Food Star company network, which ensures eco-friendly packaging, responsible business practices, organic and 0 kilometer ingredients, reusable tableware, and either composting of leftovers or management of the leftovers through consolidated networks such as Too Good To Go which was born in Denmark but is hugely popular also in Italy. As far as event production was concerned, we relied on a supplier called Inrete, which displays several system certification as a company and publishes a code of ethics that you can access through the displayed QR. During the meet, there would be more to tell than just this on that meeting. During the meeting, we moved to an external venue, a university in Milan, using the public transport. Before the meeting, all participants had received a Milan map where public transport choices were clearly displayed. But probably what's more important, a brief session of the meeting was dedicated to the sustainability self-assessment and therefore to presentation of the checklist and of the results of the self-assessments. They were more or less good. They were good in some chapters, for example, catering for sure, or communication for sure. But even in the less positive assessment, we believed it was important to bring them to the attention of all the partners nevertheless. Our lead partner, which is Île-de-France, has welcomed this practice and has recommended all the project partners to adopt the same for future meetings. And I think that's all on my side. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dario. Thank you both for your presentation. It really adds to the session. We will quickly check one or two questions on Slido. Let me see. So the one on sustainability was replied already. And then what Mia has presented is very interesting. If it's possible, could we please have her presentation slides after the webinar so that we have all the information? Don't worry, the webinar is recorded and the recording will be displayed on our project website, so you can revise all the slides and also what Mia says there. I don't know if we have a question for Dario or Yana. Our organization travel policy only allows flying in very specific cases. We mainly travel by train. Could Interreg Europe have a similar policy? Also, how many partners get climate compensation reimbursement if it's taken from the 15 flat rate for travel? Does Interreg Europe have data on this? And this is a question from Matilda. So indeed, it's nice to see that your organization allows flying only for very specific case, but we have to take into consideration that we have partners from all over Europe and in the 6 new countries that were integrated in 2024. So it's difficult to only to require this from all organizations. You have to think that sometimes flying is the only option, and also you have to see what are the rules, the internal rules of each institution. But for sure, as a program that is for sustainability, we want you to think as project partner about your impact, and if you can have another way than flying to your event, it's good. About the compensation reimbursement, I'm not going to go into that details. This session is mostly global, and I will not go into the details of the finances right now, but you can always ask your policy and finance officer allocated to your project. Now I will circle back to the session, and if we have time at the end, we'll check the other question that we have. right now we will dive into the important subject on communicating about sustainability. My colleague Irma, which is not present today, recorded a video for the webinar. So let's see what she has to say on communicating about sustainability.
If you haven't started to talk about sustainability, it's no better time to start it doing than now. My name is Irma Struskaite, I'm head of communication unit, and I wanted to share with you today the story, what has changed since we actively started to communicate about our communication actions. Exactly 1 year ago, we felt the program management bodies are talking about sustainability. There is a vibe also between our colleagues that want to do more, and also at the same time, Commission issued many guidance and supporting documents to encourage everyone to act in a more sustainable way. It was the right time to take an action and to show our engagement. So we put a sustainability project into our communication plan. We engaged ourselves to do more, to think more towards a cleaner and environment. During this year, we reflected and took the actions in different levels. On personal level, to see what I can do as the person. An organizational level, to see what we can do better as an organization, and also an institutional level, what our program management bodies can do better. When you start thinking about it, when you are engaged, you also see that many things are happening around. We see that there was a huge change in ourselves because we started to exchange with our colleagues on what actions we are doing. My colleague Ilaria was saying I'm paperless. I don't print anything when I go to events. Myself, I told I am not the case, but why I can't be like Ilaria? And now I'm not printing any agendas when I go to the events. We also see that the changes happened with our projects. When we started to communicate and explain them guidance, we put the guidance in the program manual to encourage them to act in the way Commission also expects. We got a lot of positive feedback and encouragement. So it was also encouraging us to understand that we are on the right way. When we started to communicate more about the actions we do in the videos, in the articles, we started also to notice people, organizations around us that act in the same way. And our suppliers. You go to the hotel, you see that instead of putting papers on each desk, they put it on the side and only the ones who really need can use this material. Or it's the hotel that uses all environmental friendly heating system. All those examples are inspiring, and it was always good to tell the compliments to the suppliers and also to express our expectations in the public procurement documents. This is a little bit our story. I think the biggest thing what we managed to reach that the changes happened in ourselves, in our organization. We could also see that we don't need to be dreamers. We don't need to do more. Everything starts from the small things. And nothing can change in one day. It won't happen that if the organization only travels by plane, we're encouraged on the next day after implementing this strategy, everyone will start traveling by train. But when you see that now colleagues between themselves cooperate and think about the alternative ways of traveling, you see, well, it's nice, and you see this change happening. Maybe some of the examples I gave you might think, yes, it's simple. There is not a lot you need to do, and you are completely right. All big things start from the small things. If tomorrow you can do better than what you did today, that's already the change. That's something we can do for ourselves and for our nature.
Diane, we cannot hear you.
Thank you, Petra. I'm sorry for this.
No problem.
But the magic of online webinars. Well, that was really insightful, what Irma just presented in our video. Consequently, having a sustainability communication plan created to guide our work has helped make our sustainability efforts clearer, more consistent, and more visible across our activities. For example, we started making and posting videos about the sustainable steps that we are taking at Intrec Europe. And lastly, as Irma highlighted, we all need to be involved as human beings, as organization and institution, and we all need to start somewhere. So we will check now the question on Slido, and if you have any good practices you would like to share, don't hesitate, and also for the questions. So anonymous, please write your name when you are posting questions. It's nicer for us to know who we are addressing. For us traveling from Finland, train is rarely a viable option for the travels, as it would take days to travel to Central Europe. However, for many other project partners, it would be an option more often. Have you planned to have some kind of recommendation for greener travel within the project? So thank you for your question. We have the 7 steps that we have included in our program manual about greener activities, and also we are each time presenting what we are doing, as for example in this webinar. So we have recommendation, but it's not one size fits all, if I may say. It really depends on the project activities, depends on the organization, where they are from, what is also the internal rules there. But for sure, try to make it as greener as possible and help people come to places that are easily accessible, where you can use public transport or even go by foot. Also find a good way to make the planning of the traveling for everybody easy, and give them alternatives from flying if possible. But then it depends really on the partners, it depends on the institution. So we only have global recommendation, and you can find them in the program manual, but you also have what we are posting our videos on the websites. Then I have a question from Chiara Dalagio. I'm sorry if I'm not saying that well. From all over Europe, we are having a different way of seeing stuff. My main problem is organizing a green meeting was transport around our region. Procurement rules favor cheaper option, and as local bus companies don't have green buses, choosing a company from another region will be costly. Are there tips on including sustainability in the procurement rules? I don't know, Petra, if you have an insight for Chiara?
I'm not sure me personally, but there are some projects either already now working on the procurement topic, but certainly I'm aware of a previous program project that was very much focused on green public procurement, where they looked at the different procurements and how to actually bring sustainability in it. As I'm not a project officer, I cannot really tell you too much about the specific content of the project, but what we will do, we will certainly add a link to the project and to any material if still available, so that you can have a look at what they worked on, what were maybe some of the good practices that they identified, because these good practices are still available in our database on the website, and that might serve as an inspiration on how to bring green principles in your procurement, because this was one of the barriers that some of you mentioned in the survey.
Thank you, Petra. And then here we have another question. No, I think it's a statement. It's not a question. I avoid using flights for the most of the meeting and use the train or bus for travels up to 16 hours. but this implies taking more time and needing some more rest. If meetings are planned for maximum 2 days, which are never full, then it means that most people take a plane for 1 day. Well, yeah, it really depends on how committed also you are and what you have, your time schedule, your activities, your workload. But then if you can find an alternative to flying that is feasible for you, it's always a good idea. Then another, I think it's also a statement for partners located on Mediterranean island, both hosting events and traveling to external destination present considerable sustainability challenges due to the geographic constraint and limited transport option. Yeah, for sure, we have exception. It really depends where you are going. For islands, it's a remote area, and it is more tricky to find sometimes the greener way to going there. But then also you can do the meeting maybe hybrid, doing it on site for the people that can make it, but also online so that they don't have to travel. But it really depends on how you envisage or you think about your event.
And if I can, Diane, maybe on this one, we know that some islands are very remote, but others not so remote. And then ferries exist as well. It's not only trains, it's not only public buses, but there are also ferries. Yes, again, as I think Matilde or the previous contributor to these good practices or your comments said, it takes time. And then it depends on each person's and also institutions' ability to make the traveling longer, because they travel slow. It's a slow traveling.
Yeah, thank you, Petra. I think this question may be for Dario. So is the self-assessment available? I quickly checked the GP, so the good practice, in the project hearsay webpage. There is a document to download, but the link is broken. Can people find it somewhere else? Dario, can you help us with this question? You are muted, Dario. Dario, we cannot hear you.
I muted myself.
Yeah.
I quickly checked because I saw the question and the church website is still working, but with the limited function. It basically shows at the moment only the policy instrument that were selected at the time and a repository of good practices, but not any longer the deliverable. And on the other hand, I was checking the GreenGov website to see if the checklist has been already published, but I'm afraid it's one of the results that are going to be issued. In any case, we have a communication manager, and we can turn the question to her, so that she can share the checklist as soon as it is ready for publishing.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dario. So yeah, check the project Gov. I don't remember the name exactly. I'm sorry, Dario. What is the name of the project?
GreenGov.
GreenGov. So that you will see when the self-assessment will be published, as it doesn't happen on Circe project, which is a close one. Then I think we are going to dive in our last session of this webinar, and we'll circle back to the question afterwards. So here I'm going to invite all speakers, to take part in the discussion. And we will discuss on communicating about sustainability. So I have one question, for example. How can organization communicate about sustainability in a way that feels relevant to everyday life? I don't know if Jana, Mia, or Dario, you want to reply, or Petra also? to this question?
Is Jana and Mia with us?
Don't think so.
Maybe.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yes.
Okay, very good.
So do you have a way that feels like more relevant to everyday life to communicate about sustainability, Jana?
I didn't really follow the question, but I about communication. At least I can recognize for our own case that we would need to have communication about this sustainability in the future event which we will have next summer, but also about this event and everything, how the project activities can be made greener. That there are a lot of to be communicated, and it's true that it has been discussed much or at all maybe so far. So there are many methods and ways to communicate. In here, even the local newspapers and everything where we connect with other organizations. It's a way of a standard way of doing. That it should be a standard to communicate about this.
Okay, great.
Maybe-
Thanks, Jana.
I'm sorry. Dario, one of the criteria on your checklist was communication. Can you maybe tell us a little more how you communicated or how you communicate? Maybe what your colleagues from the communication unit are doing when you organized your event in Milan?
Yeah. Before the, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Before the meeting, we highlighted with a small brochure the hotel venues that were close enough to the meeting venue to allow all participants to reach the meeting by public transport, so that taxis or other more impacting means were not necessary for them. We also dedicated, as I told you, a brief session during the meeting to highlight to all partners how important, in our opinion, it was the self-assessment of the sustainability of the event. And this, namely, considering the recommendation by the Joint Secretariat that came just a few months before our meeting, that all meetings should have been in presence as far as possible, which of course in our idea entailed a significant possible environmental impact on the organization aspects relative to the virtual meeting. But I strongly agree that there's an added value with the physical meetings that cannot be matched by online meetings, but because beside the communication, talks, presentation, there's also all the informal part, spending many hours together, seeing how other partners work, their attitude, their standing relative to their job, which is very, very useful to develop a sort of common culture of working together in Europe, and that cannot be replaced by online meetings. So this was also what we tried to communicate with this session. As I told you, the lead partner, Ile-de-France, appreciated this approach, and now for the remaining part of the project, to each partner which will be in charge of the next meeting, it will be recommended to follow the same approach. It is not mandatory that every self-assessment should be positive by principle, but the important thing is to do that, because this self-assessment encourages you to choose the best environmental option even though probably you shouldn't even do that otherwise.
Yeah. Just to keep it in mind, kind of consider it,
Exactly.
evaluate it. I think both me and Diane would only support you that personal meetings, especially in your type of projects, when you are exchanging experiences, when you are sharing how you do things in different regions, in different places, has a high value. And I like, as much as we support sustainability, as much as we are for responsible organization of events, implementation of the different activities, it should not go against the main reason why you as project exist, which means that you as regions, you as public policymakers and the representatives work together and learn from each other. And then it's more kind of deciding at which point the green and sustainable and responsible comes in to make the footprint lower, but still not to challenge the benefit of really talking to each other in a formal or informal way, which you mentioned, Dario.
Yes, thank you, Petra. Well, I think that we've reached the end of our session. So I would like to thank our speakers for their valuable insights and our audience for joining us and engaging in this important conversation on sustainability. So today's webinar highlighted how sustainability can be meaningfully integrated into everyday project activities, from choosing greener venues and travel options to offering sustainable gathering and communicating on the effort that you are making, which is really important. The example shared showed how small practical steps can make a significant impact, especially when we learn from each other and work together. So thank you for your engagement and for your commitment to making our project more sustainable. I hope you are leaving today with new ideas, inspiration, good practices to support your own sustainability initiatives. Then before we close, we referred on the slide to the seven step to greener project activities, and you can find them in the program manual on page 45 and 46. I believe that my colleague will share the link to the program manual. So it's always nice to read it before organizing an event or doing a project activity, so that you are remembering what can we do, what is possible to do for this meeting or this activity. Also, we would like to have your insight on our webinar by responding to our survey. So this is really important to us, knowing what you thought about this webinar and how we can improve and what could be your feedback about this webinar. And then what's next? Well, we encourage you to follow all the upcoming events and stay engaged with our community. Interreg Europe will organize an event for lead partners from all three calls projects, so call 1, 2, and 3. This interactive event will take place in Copenhagen on 15th of April 2026. It will be in-person participation only, because we want you to mingle, we want you to discuss, we want you to exchange. And during this event, the participants will be able to come and discuss with other lead partners the implementation of their project and discuss the needs and expectations for the future of the program. And also, so that you know, the event is organized back-to-back with our annual event, Europe Let's Cooperate, that will be held at the same place on the 16th and 17th of April 2026, and that is open for everybody. I believe you can find all our events on the website, and that the link will be shared in the chat. So thank you once again for being with us today. We are wishing you all a wonderful and sustainable rest of your day. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.